Weed from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. This article is about plants specifically called weeds. For the psychoactive plant commonly called weed, see cannabis. Drug for other uses, see weed. Disambiguation. A weed is a plant considered undesirable in a particular situation, a plant in the wrong place. Examples commonly are plants unwanted in human-controlled settings, such as farm fields, gardens, lawns, and parks. Taxonomically, the term weed has no botanical significance, because a plant that is a weed in one context is not a weed when growing in a situation where it is wanted. In the same way, frontier plants are regarded as weeds in a subsequent crop. The term weed is also applied to any plant that grows or reproduces aggressively or is invasive outside its native habitat. More broadly, weed is occasionally applied pejoratively to species outside the plant kingdom. Species that can survive in diverse environments and reproduce quickly. In this sense, it has even been applied to humans. Some plants that are widely regarded as weeds are intentionally grown in gardens and other cultivated settings, in which case they are sometimes called beneficial weeds. Weed control is important in agriculture. Methods include hand cultivation with hoes, powered cultivation with cultivators, smoothering with mulch or soil sterilization, lethal wilting with high heat, burning or chemical attack with herbicides, 枯葉剤. Ecological significance. Certain classes of weeds are ruderals with adaptations that advantages them to certain environments. That is to say, disturbed environments where soil or natural vegetative cover has been damaged or frequently gets damaged. These disturbances give weeds advantages over desirable crops, pastures, or ornamental plants. The nature of the habitat and its disturbances will affect or even determine which types of weed communicates become dominant. Examples of such ruderal or pioneer species include plants that are adapted to naturally occurring disturbed environments such as dunes and other windswept areas with shifting soils. Alluvial flood plains, river banks and deltas, and areas that are burned repeatedly, since human agricultural and なんていうんだっけ、そういうの、焼き畑農業っていうんだっけかな。Since human agricultural and horticultural practices often mimic these natural environments where weedy species have evolved, some weeds are effectively predicted to grow and proliferate in human disturbed areas such as agricultural fields, lawns, gardens, roadsides, and construction sites. The weedy nature of these species often gives them an advantage over more desirable species because they often grow rapidly and reproduce quickly. They commonly have seeds that persist in the soil seed bank for many years, or they may have short lifespans with multiple generations in the same growing season. In contrast, perennial weeds, でいいのかな? Often have underground stems that spread under the soil surface or like ground ivy. わからん。グレコマヘデラセアというのはアロマティっていうと芳香剤の原料になったりするんだろうか。Have creeping stems that root and spread out over the ground. Some plants become dominant when introduced into new environments because animals and plants in their original environments that compete with them or feed on them are absent. 要するに外敵になるような動物がいないような環境に移ってきた植物が劇的に繁殖してしまう場合、まあ外来生物でありがちなパターンだね。If what is sometimes called the natural enemies hypothesis かな。Plants freed from these specialist consumers may become dominant. An example is Cramas weed. that after some of its natural enemies were imported during World War II, in locations where predation and mutually competitive relationships are absent, weeds have increased resources available for growth and reproduction. The weediness of some species that are introduced into environments may be caused by the production of allelopathic chemicals which indigenous plants are not yet adapted to, a scenario sometimes called the novel weapons hypothesis. These chemicals may limit the growth of established plants or the germination and growth of seeds and seedlings. Another of the ways in which the ecological role of a plant can make it a weed even if it is in itself inoffensive is if it harbors a pest that is dependent on it for survival. For example, barbarous species are immediate hosts for stem-roots fungi, so that they promote serious damage to fed crops when growing near the fields. Citation needed. まあ、要出典。フングっていうのはあれか。キノコの呼び方、竹っていう方に人の日本語の痴漢では近いか。まあ、シュルームとかマッシュルームとは違うファンギっていうのは、まあ多少種別で分けられてるような印象はあるな、呼び方にも。Competition with cultivated and endemic plants. A number of native and non-native plants are wanted in a specific location for a number of reasons. An important one is functional. They interfere with food or fiber production in agriculture, wherein they must be controlled to prevent loss or diminished crop yields. Other important reasons are that they interfere with other cosmetic, decorative, or recreational goals such as in lawns, landscape architecture, playing fields, and golf courses. Similarly, they can be off course for environmental reasons, whereby introduced species outcompete for resources or space with desired endemic plants. For all these reasons, horticultural, both functional and cosmetic, and environmental ways interfere by competing with the desired plants for the resources that a plant typically needs, namely direct sunlight, soil nutrients, water, and to a lesser extent, space for growth. Providing hosts and vectors for plant pathogens, giving them greater opportunity to infect and degrade the quality of the desired plants. Providing food or shelter for animal pests such as seed-eating birds and tephritid fruit flies that otherwise could hardly survive seasonal shortages. Offering irritation to the skin or digestive tracts of people or animals, either physical irritation via thorns, prickles, or burrs, or chemical irritation via natural poisonings or irritants in the weed. For example, the poisons found in Nellium species, causing root damage to engineering works such as drains, road surfaces, and foundations, blocking streams and rivulet. With ecology, some authorities speak of the relationship between the three P's: plant, place, perception. These have been very variously defined, but the weed traits listed by H.G. Baker are widely cited. Weeds have long been a concern, perhaps as long as humans have cultivated plants. They are mentioned in various historic texts such as the Shakespearean sonnet 69. To tie fair flower as the rank smell of weeds, but white odor marches on the north shore. The soil is this that dost common grow. tie っていうのは you じゃないか。tie self とかいう。And the Bible, curse is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Benefits of weed species. See also companion plant, beneficial weed, list of beneficial weeds, and list of edible flowers. While the term weed generally has a negative connotation, many plants known as weeds can have beneficial properties. A number of weeds, such as the dandelion, taraxacum, and lamb's quarter, are edible, and their leaves or roots may be used for food or herbal medicine. Burdock is common over much of the world and is sometimes used to make soup and medicine in East Asia. Some weeds attract beneficial insects, which in turn can protect crops from harmful pests. Weeds can also prevent pest insects from finding a crop because their presence disrupts the incidence of positive cures with pests used to locate their food. Weeds may also act as a living mulch, providing ground cover that reduces moisture loss and prevents erosion. Weeds may also improve soil fertility. Dandelions, for example, bring up nutrients like calcium and nitrogen from deep in the soil with their taproot, and clover hosts nitrogen-fixing bacteria, 窒素固定だね。窒素固定を行う菌だ。In its roots, fertilizing the soil directly. The dandelion is also one of several species which break up hardpan in overly cultivated fields, helping crops grow deeper root systems. Some garden flowers originated as weeds in cultivated fields and have been selectively bred for their garden worship flowers or foliage. An example of a crop weed that is grown in gardens is corncockle, Agrostema gitahago, which was a common weed in European wheat fields, but is now sometimes grown as a garden plant. 小麦農場の横にっていうのはヨーロッパの地域で、一般には雑草扱い。ディスペーサル、少しずつ評判が変わるのにはこういうような選択的な勾配などで観賞用としての目的を果たすためにっていうような、そういう時代の流れと変化とともに一緒に植物も変化してきたっていうような背景があることは人工的である場合は問わないっていうのもあるだろうし。Dispersal. Many weed species have moved out of their natural geographic ranges and spread around the world in tandem with human migrations and commerce. 人が移動するにわたってその貿易とか交易とかっていうような中央に挟まった種とかがかなり本来は行き返しないような距離まで伝播するっていうようなそういう状況が時代のその成長というか文化の発達とともに機会が増えたってことだね。だから今はそういう地域を挟んだ雑種が多いんだな。Weed seeds are often collected and transported with crops after the harvesting of grains, so humans are a vector of transport as well as a producer of the disturbed environments to which weed species are well adapted, resulting in many weeds having a close association with human activities. Some weed species have been classified as noxious weeds by government authorities because, if left unchecked, they often compete with native or crop plants or cause harm to livestock. They are often foreign species accidentally or imprudently imported into a region where there are few natural controls to limit their population and spread. 言ったことの通りなんだ。With as adaptable species, an alternate definition often used by biologists is any species, not just plants, that can quickly adapt to any environment. Some traits of weedy species are the ability to reproduce quickly, disperse widely, live in a variety of habits, establish a population in strange places, succeed in establish a population in strange places, succeed in disturbed ecosystems and resist eradication once established. Such species often do well in human-dominated environments as other species are not able to adapt. Common examples include the common pigeon, brown rat, and the raccoon. Other weedy species have been able to expand their range without actually living in human environments, as human activity has damaged the ecosystems of other species. This includes the coyote, the white-tailed deer, and the brown-headed cowbird. 牛鳥なんていうの、牛と鳥っていう子供の組み合わせでなんか日本でもそういう似たような名前の付け方されてるような鳥があったような気がするが、まあいい。Response to the idea that humans may face extinction due to environmental degradation. In response to the idea that humans may face extinction due to environmental degradation. パレオントロジストなんだそれは。デイビッド・ジャブロンスキー counters by arguing that humans are a weed species, like other weedy species. Humans are widely dispersed in a wide variety of environments and are highly unlikely to go extinct no matter how much damage the environment faces. まあ最悪機械なんかエアコンみたいに使って強引に対処できるし。Plants often considered to be weeds. White clover is considered by some to be a weed in rounds, but in many other situations is a desirable source of fodder, honey, and soil nitrogen. A short list of some plants that often are considered to be weeds follows: amaranth, pigweed, annual with copious long-lasting seeds, also a highly edible and resilient food source. Bermuda grass, perennial spreading by runners, rhizomes and seeds. Bindweed? バインドウィードってハーブとかの類じゃないのか、製薬にも使いやすいような。違うっけ？まあいいや。違うかも。Broadleaf plantain. Broadleaf plantain. Perennial. Spreads by seeds that persist in the soil for many years. Burdock. Biennial. 鼻炎。本当に鼻炎だ。Common lamb scatters, annual. Cogon grass, Imperator cylindrica, one of the most damaging pest weeds in the world, infesting vast areas in the tropics. Creeping cherry, perennial, fast-spreading plants with long creeping stems. Dandelion, perennial, wind-spread, fast-growing and drought-tolerant. Goldenrod, perennial, Japanese knotweed. 知ってるぞ、これめっちゃ被害を及ばしたやつじゃないのか。めちゃくちゃ繁殖して。しかもわざわざ手動で目的を持って導入された植物なんだろ。クズ。Leafy spurge, perennial with underground stems. Milk sister, annual or biennial. Poison ivy, perennial. Ragweed, annual. Sorrel かな。Considered annual or perennial. Striga, St. John's wort, perennial. Smack, woody, perennial. Tree of heaven, woody, perennial. Wild carrot, biennial. 食べれるだろ。ウッドソレル、ペレニアル。美味しくないだろうけど。イエローナッツエッジ。ナッツエッジ。イエローナッツエッジ。ナッツエッジか。イエローナッツエッジ、ペレニアル。Many invasive weeds were introduced deliberately in the first place and may have not been considered nuisances at the time, but rather beneficial. Weed control. Weeds are plants that some people view as undesirable in a particular place. 全く同じこと読んだ気がする。Throughout the long human history of horticulture, people have worked to control weeds for many reasons. Weed control is a highly developed field of knowledge. Weed control methods vary according to the growth habit of the weeds in question, as well as the context. For example, different methods of weed control may be used on a food crop versus a fiber crop or golf course, because there is often more concern about health effects of chemicals used on food crops. Weeds can be categorized by their life habit. They can generally either be grouped か。They can generally either be grouped as annuals or perennials as an annual weed grows from the seeds dropped in the previous growing season. Perennial weeds regrow from previously established roots, dormant stolons, tubers, rhizomes, as well as the seed. それはさっきのその as well as the seed っていうのと perennial weeds っていうんでそのつなげるとすると両方可能である場合にはっていうんだとさまあ同時になれるってことだね。それぞれお互いに。Understanding the habit of weeds is also important for non-chemical てかさっき言ったことはこの上でも確認できるしUnderstanding the habit of weeds is also important for non-chemical methods of weed control, such as ploughing, surface scuffing, promotion of beneficial cover crops, and prevention of seed accumulation in fields. For example, amaranth is an edible plant that is considered a weed by mainstream modern agriculture. It produces copious seeds, up to 1 million per plant, that last many years, and is an early emergent fast grower. Those seeking to control amaranth quote the mantra, "This year's seeds become next year's weeds." However, another view of amaranth values the plant as a resilient food source. Some people have appreciated weeds for their tenacity, their wildness, and even to work and connection to nature they provide, as Christopher Lloyd wrote in The Well-Tempered Garden. Many gardeners will agree that hand-weeding is not the terrible drudgery that it is often made out to be. Some people finding it a kind of soothing monotony. It leaves their minds free to develop the plot for their next novel or to perfect the brilliant repartee with which they should have encountered relatives. Latest example of unreasonableness. Some people have appreciated weeds for their tenacity, their wildness, and even to work and connection to nature they provide, as Christopher Lloyd wrote in The Well-Tempered Garden. Many gardeners will agree that hand-weeding is not the terrible drudgery that it is often made out to be. Some people finding it a kind of soothing monotony. It leaves their minds free to develop the plot for the next novel or to perfect the brilliant repartee with which they should have encountered a relative's latest example of unreasonableness. History. It has long been assumed that weeds, in the sense of rapidly evolving plants taking advantage of human disturbed environments, evolved in response to the Neolithic agricultural revolution, approximately 1,200,000 years ago. However, researchers have found evidence of plot weeds behaving in similar ways at Ohio 2 2,003,000-year-old archaeological site in Israel. See also crop weeds, introduced species, invasive species, list of beneficial weeds, pest, organism, super weeds, bibliobian mimicry, vermin, volunteer botany, weed of cultivation, herbicide, super weeds, beneficial weeds,